What if the biggest controversy surrounding Shedeur Sanders this offseason had nothing to do with interceptions, accuracy, or the Browns' quarterback battle? What if the reason people were arguing about him was because he was putting in too much work? It sounds ridiculous at first, but that's exactly where the conversation went after a training session that should have been nothing but positive. Instead of everyone talking about a young quarterback doing everything possible to improve, the discussion suddenly shifted toward whether his work ethic was somehow a publicity stunt. And once that debate exploded, it became clear this wasn't really about one workout at all. It was about a player who seems to divide opinions every time his name appears in a headline. The moment clips surfaced, showing legendary former Ohio State coach Jim Tressel spending time around Shedeur Sanders during an off-season workout, plenty of football fans saw it as a great sign. Tressel isn't just another retired coach stopping by a practice field. He's one of the most respected football minds in the country, someone whose advice carries weight with players at every level. For a young quarterback trying to establish himself in Cleveland, learning from someone with that kind of experience looked like an opportunity most players would gladly accept. But not everyone reacted that way. Cleveland radio personality Anthony Lima looked at the same story and somehow found a completely different angle. Rather than focusing on Sanders seeking knowledge from a championship coach, Lima zeroed in on how many workouts Sanders was reportedly completing in a single day. With obvious sarcasm, he questioned whether there were 4 workouts, maybe 5, maybe even 6, almost treating Sanders' schedule like something unbelievable instead of admirable. His comments quickly spread across social media, and before long fans were debating the reaction more than the workout itself. That's what makes this situation so fascinating. Normally, when an NFL quarterback spends the offseason grinding, the response is simple. Fans praise the commitment, coaches appreciate the effort, and teammates respect the dedication. Yet somehow, Sanders managed to spark another controversy simply by training. That raises a bigger question. Is every move he makes now destined to become a debate? Because if you step back and look at the bigger picture, this wasn't an isolated moment. It's another chapter in a pattern that's followed Sanders since long before he arrived in Cleveland. Ever since entering the league, he's attracted opinions that rarely seem neutral. Every positive development is met with skepticism from one side, while every setback becomes proof for critics who already believed he wasn't ready. It's almost as though some people reached a conclusion about him months ago, and now every new piece of information is forced to fit that existing narrative. The workout debate felt like another example of exactly that. Think about it from another perspective. Imagine a rookie quarterback spends his offseason relaxing, while veteran competitors continue sharpening their game. Critics would immediately question his commitment. They'd wonder if he truly wanted the starting job. They'd ask whether he understood what it takes to succeed in the NFL. But when Sanders appears to do the exact opposite by constantly training and allowing pieces of that journey to become public, the criticism somehow doesn't disappear. Instead, it simply changes shape. Suddenly, the work becomes too visible. The dedication becomes performative. The cameras become the story instead of the football itself. That's why so many fans felt like the goalposts had quietly moved once again. Another talking point that quickly gained attention involved Sanders sharing parts of his offseason through videos and social media clips. Some critics suggested the workouts were designed more for content than development. Others pushed back immediately, pointing out that documenting training has become completely normal across professional sports. NBA stars post off-season runs. MLB players upload batting sessions. Elite quarterbacks release clips of throwing workouts every summer. Building a personal brand while preparing for the season isn't unusual anymore. In today's NFL, players are expected to connect with fans while also improving their game, and many manage to do both at the same time. That reality makes the criticism even more complicated. Is posting a workout automatically evidence that the work isn't real? Or is it simply a reflection of how modern athletes operate? Those questions fueled even more discussion because there isn't a simple answer. Some fans prefer old-school stars who stay completely out of the spotlight until kickoff. Others enjoy watching every step of a player's development throughout the offseason. Sanders just happens to sit at the center of that cultural shift, making him an easy target whenever opinions collide. The irony is that none of the cameras can actually complete the reps for him. Recording a workout doesn't throw passes. It doesn't improve footwork. It doesn't help read defenses. The work itself still has to happen, whether thousands of people eventually watch it online or nobody ever sees it at all. That's something many of Sanders' supporters kept pointing out as the conversation grew louder. If anything, putting those sessions online increases the pressure because expectations rise every time another clip goes viral. Suddenly, every preseason throw, every training camp report, and every practice highlight gets compared against months of off-season hype. And that pressure only grows because the Browns' quarterback situation remains one of the most closely watched storylines heading into camp. Sanders isn't walking into a guaranteed starting role. Every practice matters. Every rep matters. Every impression matters. That's exactly why his off-season preparation has attracted so much attention. He understands there are no shortcuts available to him. Draft status alone won't secure the job. Public opinion won't secure the job. Viral videos certainly won't secure the job. Only performance will. But as the debate kept getting louder, another important detail started getting overlooked. While media personalities argued over cameras and workout schedules, people much closer to the Browns organization were sending a very different message. And that completely changed the conversation. The people evaluating Shedeur Sanders every single day aren't relying on viral clips or radio debates. They're watching every throw, every decision, every adjustment, and every practice rep from just a few feet away. That's why their perspective carries far more weight than outside speculation. While headlines focused on off-season videos, several respected voices around the Browns continued emphasizing Sanders' willingness to learn, compete, and improve. Former Browns quarterback Bernie Kosar publicly expressed confidence that Sanders deserved a legitimate opportunity to compete, explaining that talent alone isn't what earns respect inside an NFL building. Preparation, consistency, and growth matter just as much. Coming from one of the most recognizable quarterbacks in franchise history, those comments stood in sharp contrast to the criticism dominating sports talk shows. Instead of questioning Sanders' commitment, Kosar highlighted the confidence and personality that have made him such a polarizing figure. That's another interesting part of this entire story. Sanders has always carried himself with confidence, dating back to his college career. To supporters, that's leadership. To critics, it's arrogance. The exact same personality trait gets interpreted in completely different ways depending on who's watching. And once people decide which side they're on, every interview, social media post, or workout clip becomes another piece of evidence supporting their existing opinion. That's why changing the narrative can be so difficult. The conversation often stops being about football and starts becoming about perception. Lost in all the noise is the reality of Sanders' situation. He's entering one of the biggest competitions of his football career. Every quarterback on the roster is fighting for opportunities, and no amount of off-season publicity guarantees anything once training camp begins. Coaches aren't handing out starting jobs because someone trended online. They care about command of the offense, timing with receivers, decision-making under pressure, accuracy, leadership, and consistency. Those are the things that determine who takes the first snap when the regular season arrives. Everything else is background noise. That's also why comparing Sanders' offseason to established stars like Josh Allen can be misleading. Allen has already proven himself over multiple NFL seasons. He's earned the benefit of being judged primarily on Sundays. Sanders hasn't reached that stage yet. As a young quarterback still trying to establish himself, every move naturally receives greater scrutiny. Fair or unfair, that's simply the reality for rookies and developing players throughout the league. Every practice throw gets analyzed. Every interview gets dissected. Every mistake becomes a headline, while every success invites another debate about whether it's actually meaningful. It's part of the pressure that comes with trying to become an NFL starter. Another detail that often disappears during these discussions is context. Sanders dealt with limited opportunities, roster competition, and the normal challenges facing a young quarterback learning the professional game. Development isn't always linear. Some quarterbacks explode onto the scene immediately, while others need time before everything slows down. NFL history is filled with players who struggled early before eventually becoming stars. It's also filled with highly praised prospects who never reached expectations. That's why off-season narratives, whether positive or negative, should always be treated carefully. They rarely predict what actually happens once the games count. Reports from practices can create excitement, but regular season defenses reveal the truth. Workout videos can showcase dedication, but live pass rushes expose weaknesses that cameras never capture. In other words, the real evaluation hasn't even started yet. That's what makes this entire controversy feel so premature. Fans are arguing passionately over a player who hasn't even had the chance to write the next chapter of his NFL career. Some have already decided he'll become Cleveland's answer at quarterback. Others have already concluded he'll never develop into a franchise player. The truth almost certainly lies somewhere between those extremes, and only time will reveal which predictions hold up. Until then, every workout, every interview, and every practice report will continue fueling debate, because Sanders remains one of the league's most discussed young quarterbacks. Whether that's because of his last name, his confidence, his social media presence, or the expectations surrounding him depends on who you ask. But one thing is impossible to deny. He commands attention, unlike almost any other rookie quarterback in recent memory. That's why even something as ordinary as an off-season workout can dominate football conversations for days. At the end of all this, the only scoreboard that matters hasn't even been switched on yet. Critics can question the cameras. Supporters can celebrate the work ethic. Analysts can debate whether the publicity helps or hurts. None of it changes what awaits once training camp opens and preseason football begins. Every quarterback eventually reaches the same moment where opinions no longer matter. The film replaces the headlines. The throws replace the tweets. The results replace the arguments. If Sanders performs, much of this criticism will quickly fade into the background. If he struggles, the doubters will claim they saw it coming all along. That's the unforgiving reality of playing quarterback in the NFL, especially for someone carrying expectations as high as his. Until then, the smartest move may be the one Sanders appears determined to make. Ignore the noise, keep working, keep learning from experienced football minds whenever possible, and let the performance speak louder than any off-season debate ever could. Because when week 1 finally arrives, nobody will remember how many workouts happened in June. They'll only remember what happened when the ball was snapped.